What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our ACC football channel. In 2019, Boston College played two Power 5 opponents in the non-conference, as well as Notre Dame. You look at that and say, wow, that must have been one of the most brutal non-conference schedules in the country. But then you look at who the two non-conference Power 5 opponents were, and it was Kansas and Rutgers. So yes, on the surface you say, wow, that's a really nice schedule, but then again, you're talking about two of the bottom teams in the Power 5, although Kansas did beat Boston College last season. And we'll see what happens in 2020. We'll take a look at the schedule. They do not play Notre Dame in 2020, so that's good news. And the non-conference schedule, though, they did the same thing. They played two Power 5 teams. They'll start off with Syracuse at home on a Friday night. Big game to start off the season. A battle of two teams that I have towards the bottom of the ACC, but a win there could maybe give the winning team a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence, and maybe change their season. The loser could have a horrible year and be the worst team in the ACC. That's actually a big game early in the year. So that's Boston College, Syracuse, September 4th on a Friday night. Then the next game is against Ohio on September 12th. This is a home game for Boston College. Not a Power 5 opponent, but Ohio's not a bad group of 5 teams, so that could be an interesting game there. New head coach, a lot of changes here for Boston College. We'll see how they do in that one. Next game is September 19th on the road at Kansas. Again, Kansas beat Boston College last year, and what was a big shock, because remember, Boston College beat Virginia Tech in week 1, and we thought this team was the real deal, but then they kind of faded away. They did get to a bowl game, but it still wasn't a great team. But at that time, we thought, wow, Boston College might be pretty good. And they lost to Kansas. And that was not a good performance by this BC team. They'll have a chance for revenge on the road again on September 19th. September 26th, they'll play Purdue at home. This is going to be a very difficult test, in my opinion. I think Purdue's going to be a lot better this year, offensively especially. So that'll be a tough one for Boston College. So give them credit. I know they're not playing Alabama and Ohio State, but they're playing Kansas and Purdue, two Power 5 teams, and that's what Boston College should do. They shouldn't be out there scheduling top 10 teams. They should schedule teams that are pretty good Power 5 teams, and that's what they're doing. So I applaud them for scheduling a couple of Power 5 opponents like that. But then they get back to ACC play on October 2nd, where they will play Clemson, and then they'll play Louisville on October the 10th, and then they'll play on the road at Virginia Tech October 22nd. That is a brutal stretch right there. I mean, you're talking about 3 of the top 5 probably teams in the ACC this season, and they play them back-to-back. So a very tough stretch there for this BC team. We'll see how they can manage to get through that schedule. And the Virginia Tech game, I think that'll be a Thursday night game. That'll make it even tougher, but at least they get a bye week before playing Virginia Tech. So they get their bye week between Louisville and Virginia Tech. And then on Halloween, October 31st, they get a break. They get Holy Cross. So you would expect Boston College, obviously, to take care of business in that game. And then they go down the home stretch here, the month of November. It's not really that kind to them either, because you have 3 road games in the ACC. NC State on the road on November 7th, and then Florida State November 14th. And also will be a road game. They do come back for North Carolina on November 21st. That'll be a tough test as well there. And then on November 28th, they go on the road at Wake Forest. So, yeah, this is a pretty tough schedule for Boston College. I think right now the top 2 teams I've been saying in the Coastal are probably going to be Virginia Tech and North Carolina, and they play both of them. So, potentially playing the 2 top teams in the Coastal Division, plus they're in the Atlantic, so they have to play Clemson and Louisville and Florida State. And then in the non-conference, it's not horrible, but they do play 2 Power 5 teams, Kansas and Purdue. So all in all, I would say this Boston College schedule is very tough for them. If this was Alabama, you'd say that's not a very tough schedule. But for a program like Boston College that doesn't exactly win a lot of championships, a schedule like this is really tough. And ultimately, because of this schedule, I think it could be a challenge for this team to get back to a bowl game this year. Because there are just a lot of losses you could see potentially happening on this schedule. So not a lot of room for error for Boston College in 2020. We'll see what they can do. But again, a very difficult schedule, in my opinion, for this BC team.